And we're gonna go ahead and begin. Okay, turn this off. All right, I am doing side by side, so I hope everyone can see. So I'll make this bigger for right now. All right, everyone. So welcome in third grade. This is our weekly data meeting for our common assessment. So, we took our common assessment on last Thursday. So we're going to go right into our data. So I want to start us, of course, we start with our vision to build procedural fluency from conceptual understanding through the implementation of our math tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving. Our math team core value. So remember, in everything that we do, we should always incorporate this. Our value, so evidence of student thinking. So of course, we're in our remote setting and face-to-face. So they're annotating, and we saw a very good job of that. Our student experiences, remember, they should be real life experiences. They should be fun. That's our culture piece. Our aspiring relationships, again, that student culture, that culture between us and you all, and your relationships with the students, and then math esteem. So the kids should have confidence when attacking the problems. So these are our core values for our department. Of course, our campus goal, what is supported by our weekly data meeting practices, is going to be our goal of our increase in domain 1. So we want to go from our 35% to 47% by 2022. Okay, let's go into our protocol. So on today, Miss Lewis will be our timekeeper. Miss Lewis, please just remember the 1 minute warning. Thank you. The scribe, I'm going to scribe for us on this note-taking sheet. Can everyone see side by side?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to scribe, and I'm going to put our notes there. You all will have access to it after the meeting. Our speaking order this week is Cole, Lewis, and then myself. And then again, I'll scribe all key points. And then Ms. Lewis, if you could just make sure that you give us one. And that, so then once we complete the meeting, y'all, I will share, of course, this, and then like your reteach questions. So you all will get documentation. All right, so our norms: be present and visible there. Camera should be turned on. Mute speaker when not speaking. Be tech free, so engage fully. Be clear, courageous, and direct. Consider the third way, and then engage in a foundation of grace, especially with our technology tools. And then, of course, always purpose over personal. This is not a personal attack when it comes to our data. Okay, so it is just to ensure that we stamp it so that we can do our reteaches. All right, so let's go into our celebration. All right, so for our first celebration, we had a strong testing environment. There was evidence of student accommodation during testing. So both face to face, we launched our peer deck and our class kit. You all were the reading assistance kids were, we saw evidence asking to read a question, and then our testing protocols. So I'm going to start with, again, Ms. Wheaton, Ms. Cole, and then when it came to our testing environment, what actions did you guys take to make that successful?
Well, since I was dealing with all the remote students, I wanted to ensure that they were in a quiet location first. If they were not in a quiet location, to make sure they had headphones, make sure they were able to hear me, if they had any questions or anything. And then I also had it to where they would get scratch paper so that they could have scratch paper for when they needed it. And also I had them to do an answer sheet so that they were able to write down their answers as they were annotating. That way it would be easier for them to transfer it over to Dan.
Perfect, absolutely. And real quick, if everybody could mute because there is an echo. So if you're not speaking, then yes, perfect. Okay, so yes, Miss Wheaton, absolutely. We use two platforms like you mentioned, Class Kick, Pear Deck, and then they had to enter in the dance. So having those procedures in place, for sure. Miss Cole, what about you as it relates to our environment?
Well, I practiced like we were going to test. I did class kit continuously in class. That was what I was expecting to see on class kick during class. My expectations were the same for testing, and also they had a daily routine of making a multiplication chart, which they knew to use while testing. So I set up routines and procedures prior to the testing environment.
All right, absolutely. And last but not least, Miss Lewis, what leader move allowed our teachers to have a strong instructional launch as it results to testing?
I strongly believe the expectations were clear, the countless efforts that were already embedded with the plan itself, and then as a leader executing, just ensuring that with confidence, any challenges that may have arisen on the day of testing, those were quickly put out. Just ensuring that the teachers continue to have the tools that were successful. But again, all of the groundwork was done prior. All I merely did was simply execute it with regards to just ensuring that everyone had a successful testing experience.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. So, of course, we all know that our environment does play a part in our overall data. So, testing is coming up. So, we want to practice perfect so that our testing launch is very smooth. All right. So, let's dive into our content. So, Ms. Lewis, if you could set the timer for 2 minutes. All right, so let's look at our past success. So 3-5A, which is represent 1 and 2 step problems involving addition and subtraction, using whole numbers, pictorial models, number lines, and equations. So y'all, we have come a very long way with this. So from our OSA, that was our last like formal data piece. We were at 32% mastery. This last assessment for mock, we got it all the way up to 68%. So that's awesome. So we had 36% gains. So again, Miss Wheaton, I'm gonna kick it off to you. Make it quick, Miss Lewis. Don't forget to 1 minute warning. So Miss Wheaton, what did you do? What teacher moves led to this student mastery? Oh, Miss Wheaton, come off of mute.
Okay. I introduced to them the problem solving protocol. And so with that, through that, we asked, do you have a total? They know that if they do have a total, then that means that they are either to divide or subtract. From that point on, we decide, okay, so what are my units? What is it that we're looking for? What is it that our question is asking us for? After that, we go to, is it all the same or is it mighty different? All the same meaning adding or subtracting, mighty different meaning multiplying or dividing. So if they did not have a total, they understand that that means that they are either going to add or multiply.
We're at our 1 minute mark, 30 seconds remaining.
Absolutely. And Miss Cole, go ahead and I'll come back after you all. Unmute. 30 seconds remaining too, Miss Cole.
Okay, yes. With me, it was not necessarily understanding the problem solving protocol. It was the procedural steps with regrouping. So every day I had a drilling skill where we just I drilled and killed that skill repeatedly because they understood when to regroup, when to subtract, and when to add. It was just the procedural steps. How do I carry from my tens to my ones place? So I broke those steps down.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. That was our 30 seconds.
All right, so thank you, Ms. Lewis. So perfect. Ms. Wheaton, of course, is new to our team. So Ms. Wheaton, you coming in and having to teach and learn for yourself the problem solving protocol. Absolutely. That is one of our main norms that we do when we are attacking multi-step problems. And Ms. Cole, you're absolutely correct. Knowing that that procedural gap of regrouping when they're having to add. Good job, team. All right, so 2 minutes going directly to our standard. So you all know that we had several SEs that we mastered, and we had several SEs that were less than 50% perimeter. We've been here before, okay? So this particular question, it was number 14 that we missed. It was assessed twice, but this was the one that we missed, which had the missing side. Okay, so we came in as a campus with 22% mastery, and again, number 14 was the lowest. So based off of this, I want to go directly into our no-show. So Ms. Lewis, if you could give us 3 minutes on the clock. So 5 minutes, because that wasn't the whole 2. So 5 minutes, 1 minute, like quiet solo briefly. I want to go ahead and begin scripting out. So when it comes to the standard, and this is based on the language, not the question, not either questions on the test, just the language of the SC, what would the kids have to know and show? Miss Wheaton, you're going to kick it off. So if you're ready to go ahead, I can begin scribing. If not, I'll give you 30 seconds of quiet solo time.
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so the first thing students should know is what is a polygon. For them to understand what a polygon is, then they will have to know how to multiply. For them to know how to multiply, they will have to know how to use repeated addition. And then from that point on, Ms. Cole, she can continue.
Okay, Miss Wheaton, just before we get to Miss Cole, hold on, Miss Cole. What about the show?
Okay, so with the polygon, they have to know that a polygon is 2-dimensional. They have to know that it has straight lines.
Okay, so remember, Miss Wheaton, just going back, the show is what you want them to annotate. So think about like your exemplar. What are some of the components that they would have to do when
To
working
annotate
with
the,
yeah.
okay. Well, first they would have to identify that what they're looking at is a square. And so they know that the square has 4 equal sides. So that's what they could annotate. And then with multiplying, because it has 4 equal sides and they were already given one side, then they know that they will have to multiply that one side 4 times.
All right. Okay, Miss Cole.
They need to understand what perimeter means, the definition of perimeter. The perimeter means to add the outside of an object, because I think they get a confusion between perimeter and area. That's basically one thing they needed to punch in the question. That was the question. Also, they need to know that the shape, she already touched on this, was congruent on all sides, that they were all equal. Understand congruent. And that you could do to solve it. You needed to know 2-digit by 1-digit multiplication also was another way to solve that by using the area model or with repeated addition.
Okay, and then what about the show? So
to show that,
yeah, talking about what would the annotations be?
The annotation would be to write 24 times 4 and to place that on the area model correctly with 20 plus 4 to use your place value. Understanding the place value, that should be on, yeah.
That's under the no.
Yeah, no, they need to know place value, sorry.
All right, thank you, Miss Cole. Miss Lewis.
So I'm going to take it from the multiplication to the repeated addition. So on the no side, let me go back to the no side. The attributes of a polygon, and in this case, obviously, with them knowing the attributes of a polygon, it's a square. So they know, and everyone has stated that prior, the other participants, that there are 4 sides. Taking it over to the show, because I think we have covered the no. On the show side, I would like to see the repeated addition, adding the sides by grouping 2 sides at a time.
Yep. All right, thank you, Miss Lewis. And then I want to just just top us off on that show. And I think this is going to be huge, especially we're talking about missing side links, and we're talking about are polygons and the attributes of. So the students need to actually label each side
Yes, ma'am, 1
with
minute,
the actual side link,
correct?
okay? So, or identify each side. Because remember, we're talking about just the language of the SE. So, of course, this SE is all sides may be given, or it may even be a missing side link. So they need to label each side. I also would like to them like number each side and write out like an equation.
Absolutely.
So when they're writing the equation using blanks, it's like they're filling in the blanks with the side links. That way they'll know that they've added all of the sides. All side links being added. All right, so I think we have a pretty solid no-show. So again, this is just based off of the language of the standard. So now let's look at our exemplar. Okay, these are your exemplars, Ms. Cole. You can see, let me go ahead and drag this out just a little bit more. So Ms. Cole, you have your exemplar here, and then Ms. Wheaton, you have your exemplar. Based off of your teacher exemplars, and they're different, would you all want to add, is there any way that we could add more content to our no and our no-show chart? That's not listed.
We could add the labeling.
Okay, so that's something we
could,
that would be a way to upgrade your exemplar. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Cole.
I have my students number the sides
Okay.
and write out. Yeah.
All right, so that's perfect. So the thing about it, remember, our gap is going to be found in our no-show. So we look at our teacher exemplars, and we also talk about our no-show, because our no-show is that's the expectation. Okay, so we're gonna come back to that. All right, so based on our teacher exemplar, we're kind of doing this all in one. But based on that, do we need to upgrade it? You all have already made those upgrades. Okay, so let's go into our student analysis. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at our student mastered work, and then we're gonna compare that to, again, you all's exemplar. And then from there, I'm gonna ask you guys, can we upgrade our no-show even more? Okay, because again, that's what we're gonna ground our gap in. So let's look at some of our mastered work. Okay, so here we have 2 samples from Ms. Wheaton, and we have 2 samples from Ms. Cole. So on Ms. Wheaton's here, there's evidence that they chunked the 24. They got 24 plus 24 was 48. Then they started like a running total from there, and they got 96. But I'm not seeing that they labeled the sides there. And then here, Ms. Wheaton, there's evidence that they multiplied 24 times 4. So that's evidence that that's what you pushed. And your student samples are pretty close to your multiplication. So your students took the multiplication route. One of them did, and then the other, they added. And then Ms. Cole, your student work, this is real solid. So this was one of your paper-based tests. You see that they've labeled the sides with the 24, and then they had the regrouping. So based on you all's master samples, is there anything else that you all noticed? Like, did they take a different pathway from what you all taught? And is there anything that we can add to the no-show? Ms. Wheaton, go ahead, and then Ms. Cole.
I started 2 minutes.
With the labeling of each side with the 24 for my students, as far as with the multiplication for the student that did the multiplication, with them also doing repeated addition so that they can make sure that that is the correct answer. So just making sure that they do both of those 2 steps and not just one step and, moving on from the question, because although it worked for this question, it might not work for every question.
Okay, so I'm gonna add to the no-show both steps as a check, or just some type of the student, well, that might be under show. they need to have some type of justification. That's what I hear you
Yes.
saying.
I agree on the show.
Okay, Miss Cole.
With my student, I will have him, like you said, write the formula and label the sides, perimeter equals side 1, side 2, and plug the numbers in to make sure you don't have too many 24s,
Right.
as justification and check.
Perfect. I like that. And I'm also going to add that to the know. They need to know the reference chart, that star reference chart. They need to pull the perimeter formula from that. Okay. And then to Ms. Cole, I like how you're upgrading the show as well. They write out the formula so they can then kind of plug in. All right. Perfect. So we've upgraded our no show. It's these typos. My goodness. Okay. So now let's look at our unmastered work. Okay, so this is where it kind of takes a different turn. Okay, so the first slide deck are Miss Cole. These are your unmastered work. So let's just kind of notice, look at what they did and what they didn't do as it compares to your exemplar. So Miss Cole, since these are your students, actually, yeah, go ahead and Miss Cole, go ahead and share out what you're seeing the error could possibly be.
1
First of
minute.
all, Okay, first of all, they didn't understand that all the sides were congruent, that this was a square, and that the sides were equal. So I had to go back and punch the concept of a polygon. And then we have to go back to the basics. So right now, P equals perimeter equals side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 plus side 4. And doing that probably on the grid sheet versus, because they do get a grid sheet, doing that on a grid sheet or some kind of other paper, and they can transfer it.
Okay, perfect. Ms. Lewis, is there anything that you want to kind of add to what you're seeing some of the student error could possibly be with Ms. Cole's student exemplars?
I think Ms. Cole captured it perfectly in what she shared. The only other I would add is perhaps if they could, and just ground everyone in a solution sentence at the end, that they've provided the response, some kind of means of boxing their final answer, and then perhaps providing a solution sentence. The perimeter of the square is.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go to, and for Ms. Cole, to your point, we see that, right? You have at the bottom 12. So
Yes.
it's almost, I don't know if they read, because based on this picture, and it could be, we have to think about too, we were like on the screen, we added and we snipped questions onto Pear Deck. So we technically could have disoriented the question a little bit to just for the kids. Like that could have been a misconception too. Because it kind of does look like a rectangle off top. Because you see that they put like the 12 and the 12. So it's important that even with this, I'm not seeing evidence of like the problem solving protocol. Like they didn't really annotate the question either. So I added that to the note. Like in all that we do, we have to annotate our question.
But I would take them back, Ms. Richards, if I can just interject, take them back to within the question, the stem itself. It indicated that the polygon is a square. So holding them to that, understanding that it may be slightly distorted, but again, the polygon identified in the question itself is a square. So the kids have to know the attributes of a square. Sides, all side lengths are the same.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so thank you, Ms. Cole. So Ms. Wheaton, here are 3 snips of your student work. And again, I was super excited to see, we were able to pull student work from Class Kit, so that was exciting, but it was incorrect. So what are some of the things that you're seeing, Ms. Wheaton?
1 minute, Ms. Wheaton.
Once again, with them not understanding that they are looking at a square, and a square does have 4 equal sides. So from them understanding that knowledge, then they will understand, okay, well, if I'm given one side and it has 4 equal sides, then that measurement is the same for all of my sides. As far as in making sure that they are really reading and understanding what the question is asking them for, because although they annotated, they might have not went into depth of what is the question asking me for, because no keywords were pointing out. All I see is underlining. I don't see no circled, so perimeter wasn't circled, square wasn't circled, or anything like that. And so from that point, I would just think that they would need to read the question more, make sure they're pointing out those keywords so they can discover, okay, it is a square, knowing the attributes of a square, and then also knowing, okay, so once I have that, how do I figure out my perimeter and knowing what a perimeter is?
Absolutely. All right, so now we have to name it, right? We've shared out different various misconceptions, but I want us to ground us back into our no-show chart. So for our misconceptions, you all know we can have a conceptual gap and a procedural gap. Our conceptual gap is going to be connected to the no. So that's about the concept. What did the kids not know? And then procedural will be more so our gap as it relates to that show portion. Okay, so 2 seconds, Miss Wheaton. I'm going to hear what you think the gap is. I'm going to scribe it, Miss Cole, and then we're going to norm on it, and then I'm going to stamp it, and then we're going to all say it together, and then we'll go into our reteach.
So 2 minutes on the clock.
So Miss Wheaton, all in all, when it relates to your exemplar, our no-show chart, and our student error, what would you say that conceptual gap is?
Not understanding the attributes of a square, and also not understanding the attributes of what a perimeter is. And so from that, I feel like then they will be able to answer the question correctly. Because as we can see from earlier, they do know how to do addition, and they do better with multiplication, but it's just having that understanding of what is a square, how many sides does a square have, and then how do I determine how to find my perimeter?
Okay, Miss Cole, come off of mute. Thank you.
That's basically, if they don't understand the attributes of a square, well, first they need to understand that they're looking for the perimeter. That's step one. And that the perimeter they're looking for is for the perimeter of a square based on that question. And that the square has one side already known, and that you just copy those other sides because they're all congruent. That's the basic knowledge you need. And I think that was the key gap. Because it, like you said, even though it was screwed a little bit, it was stated in the statement that you're looking for a square. So I should say, oh, a square is equal on all 4 sides. So I just need to write 24 again.
All right. So I would agree. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it. Our overall gap is a conceptual gap. And that conceptual gap is going to be the attributes of a square. When we go back to our standard is the student is expected to determine the perimeter of a polygon. Okay, the polygon. They have to know attributes of polygon. In this particular question, the given polygon was a square. So they need to know the attributes. So say it with me. I do want you all to write it down. I am writing it also on the note template, but I want y'all to write it down. The gap for question number 14.
The gap for question number 14.
For question number 14.
Gap for question number 14.
Are the attributes of a square.
Are the
attributes of a square.
Okay, so basically knowing in a nutshell, they didn't know that when I have a square, all sides are the same. Okay, and then of course, our procedural gap, we can go back into the show. They need to label each side. So once they know that I have all the same sides, I'm given a side length, I need to label that. And then from there, I can go into my repeated addition or my multiplication because we saw mastery in that. Okay, so our gap. So remember, we're going to reteach our gap. All right, so our reteach structure. Based on data, we were at 22%. Unfortunately, team, we don't have a choice. The data reveals that we will be modeling, okay? So It's less than 50%. So our reteach structure is going to be the model. All right, so planning the reteach. I'm gonna go ahead and go to our question. So when we do our reteach plan, okay, now I'm gonna give you time to script on your own, but you're gonna do like step by step, and then Ms. Cole, I'm gonna actually go ahead and volunteer you to model. So when you do your modeling and you do your reteach, you're addressing the gap. Remember, our gap is that they need to know the attributes. So think about our laps and our replicable steps. What would your I do be if you were to model this same test question again? What would your I do be? Okay, so we had, the time is right at 11 o'clock, so we have 29 minutes, so we're really good time. Miss Lewis, if you could split this 10 minutes in half, so I want y'all to have 5 minutes to script your I do, and then we'll share out each other's scripts and upgrade, and then from there, Miss Cole, you'll then model for us.
Okay.
All right, the time, Miss Lewis, go ahead, 5 minutes. And at this time, we're going to script our I do for our reteach. Miss Lewis, thank you all for writing and scripting. Miss Lewis, what's our time remaining? Miss Lewis, can you show us? Did you went back on?
I'm sorry, 7 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay, perfect.
5 minute mark, that would be for scripting. So we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left for scripting.
Thank you. Miss Wheaton and Miss Cole, not to rush, but if you all are done, just give me a thumbs up if we don't need to use the entire time. If not, go ahead. Thank you, Miss Cole. Oh, Miss Wheaton, you ready? Perfect. All right. So, Miss Wheaton, go ahead and come off of mute. Miss Cole, go ahead and remain off mute as well.
Okay.
Okay, so, because I want us to have more time to actually model and practice. So what we're getting ready to do, just to kind of go over our scripting and our role play. So when we script, Miss Wheaton, you're going to read your script. Miss Cole, you're going to read your script. Miss Wheaton, after you read your script, we'll give you 2 praises and 1 upgrade. Ms. Cole, same thing, 2 praises and 1 upgrade. And then you guys will have a final script from there, and then we'll model the script with the upgrades. Okay? All right, so Ms. Wheaton, go ahead. If you're ready to share out, go ahead and read your script.
Okay, so first student would read and annotate. When annotating, they will point out those keywords. So identifying that they are looking for the perimeter and also identifying that the perimeter that they're looking for is of a square.
Hold on, Ms. Wheaton. This is great. Let's go into role play, like we role playing. So read your script as if you were at a table read and you are the actress. So in a sense, it should be like, read it like, good morning, boys and girls. Like, read it to us.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, try again.
Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to be, we are going to identify what a perimeter is by using a polygon. And so first thing that we need to do, we need to read and annotate first. After we read and annotate, we need to point out those key words that we see. So as we can see, we see square and we also see perimeter. So those are words that we need to point out. After we point out those words, we need to understand what is a square and how many sides does a square have. A square has 4 sides, so that means that a square is equal. So after we identify what a square is and how many sides it has, then we need to go and label each side. From labeling each side, we can see that we are already given a measurement of 24 centimeters. So that lets us know that we should put 24 centimeters on each side. From that point on, then we will go into knowing what the perimeter formula is. And so that means that we will have P equals side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 plus side 4. And then we will plug in those numbers that we were given. As we can see, we put 24 on all 4 of our sides. And now we are adding it to be sure that we get the correct answer. And then we will justify it by also multiplying it as well.
All right, is that seen?
Seen.
All right, very good. Miss Wheaton, okay. Novice where? Okay, so Miss Wheaton, we're gonna go ahead and provide you with 2 upgrades and 1 praise. Okay. I'm sorry, 2 praises, 1 upgrade. All right, so Miss Cole, give your feedback first, Miss Lewis, and then myself.
Okay, it was very detailed. You told them where to write their numbers and what you want to see around the squares as you were talking. You went step by step. You're so fast. Okay. I'll try to take notes. Also, you went through the problem solving protocol. So yeah, and you closed out with justify your answer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cole, for those celebrations. And what's 1 upgrade? And I want you to ground your feedback in the no-show. Ground your feedback in the gap. So what's the gap addressed? I want you to give her feedback.
Make sure you punch the attributes of polygons in the square. That needs to be punched to so they can understand why they're putting 24 on all sides of the polygon that's given. In the formula of perimeter. So yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you, Miss Lewis.
So I would like to also say novice. I don't see the novice. Teacher, very experienced with you definitely ensured that the gap was clear. So you stuck exactly to the gap with regards to the attributes. That is 1 praise, punching those attributes, identifying that it is a square. We're learning about what a perimeter is. My other praise would be you did mention the formula. Perimeter equals each of the sides. We're adding the sides, we've multiplied, but you're also adding. One of the upgrades for me or polish, not noted in our no-show chart, would have been to indicate the unit. It is measured in centimeters. So just simply put that out.
All right, thank you. thank you for that, Ms. Lewis. I can identify and name units. That's gonna be under the no and the show for sure. That was a good upgrade. Thank you. For me, Miss Wheaton, I kind of use my script and your script like as a checklist. So you definitely hit 4 sides. You said you labeled the 4 sides. So you hit the misconception. I do want us to be very clear. So when we think about like our I do model, this will be your polish. You need to physically say, so step 1, give them the writing text because they need to be clear. You gave the replicable steps, but you want to be very clear, like step 1, lap. That way they can make those connections because those same laps, those same steps, that's what you call off in your user when you start your monitoring. I'm sorry, feedback for learning labs. Okay? So be very clear in that. Miss Lewis, what's our time?
We have 1 minute actually left in the session.
Okay, so what I want us to do, Miss Cole, based on the feedback that we provided to Miss Wheaton, I want everyone to that 1 minute to upgrade your script so that you have a solid script. And then we're gonna go ahead and go into the model. For the sake of time, because with all of our share out, our praises and our polishes, we should be able to tweak our scripts and we'll have a solid script. And then from there, I want Miss Cole, I want you to then model.
So 1 minute on the timer to tweak your scripts, beginning now.
All right, Miss Lewis is holding up the timer. Thank you so much for your visual. So 2, 1, and time. All right. So Miss Cole, are you ready? All right. So Miss Cole, I have my screen shared. Confirm for me that you have it's big for you.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So when you do your reteach, we did not hear your script, but I do want you to model because before we leave this space, I do want us to see a solid model. Miss Wheaton, you have a great script. We updated that script. So Miss Cole, I want you to model. Remember to address all of our misconceptions. Just to reiterate, our conceptual gap was understanding the attributes of the polygon and our procedural, the annotations of those slides. So Miss Cole, the time is 11:14. So we're gonna give you 10 minutes. That'll take us to 11:25, and then that 5 minutes we can wrap up and calendar out our reteach observation. So Ms. Cole, I do want you to annotate using Zoom. Do you have that feature available?
Yes.
All right. And you have a touch screen, so you can use your pen and that works a little easier. So Ms. Lewis, let us know when the time is
Okay.
ready.
All right, Ms. Cole, you have 10 minutes on the clock.
Okay. Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to review perimeter. So let's talk about the perimeter first. The formula for perimeter is P equal side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 plus side 4, however many sides we have. Let's keep that concept in the back of our head. Okay. So we're going to talk about the perimeter of a polygon. So let's look at this question 14 from my test. Gina's journal has a square cover with the side length shown. What is the perimeter of the cover Gina's journal in some centimeters. So the first thing we always do is read to find our information. So I'm going to go up to Gina's journal and look at sentence number 1. And I'm going to underline square because the square is our polygon that we're talking about. Then I'm going to go down to my question, put my big Q, and highlight the word perimeter because that's what I am solving for. I want to use all my problem solving protocol and talk about what I see. This is what I see at this moment, that I'm looking at a square and I'm solving for perimeter. So now the polygon that we're looking at is a square, and a square has the attributes of 4 equal sides. They have given us one side, which is 24. So we know the other side should be congruent. So we're going to write 24 on each side. So this is basically, we're still in our C because this is what we see. We see we have 4 sides and they're all congruent. I'm going to label my sides with side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. Okay. So I have labeled each of my sides of my polygon. Now I'm going to write my formula. And I'm put a line that represents each side of the square. Because for perimeter, if we looked at our sheet that says how to solve for perimeter, it says perimeter, we add all of the sides. So I can add all these sides, or I can do the inverse operation of multiplication. But right now we're going to add because that's what we wrote in our notes. And we know we group 2 groups together when we add. So we're going to plug the numbers in on the line. Now we're on our plan. We wrote down perimeter. We're on plan. We're still in C, plan, do, reflect. So this is our plan. Now we're on our do. When we start our do, we solve for our perimeter. So we have 24 and 24. We're going to group those digits together. And we write our box because that box tells us we might need to regroup, so we need to put our box in our tens place. So, and we use our dot math to count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We write an 8, we don't need the box to regroup. So we have 2. We use our dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 48. Now, we know that 24 plus 24 is 48. So we're going to write it again just to show that we are adding the perimeter across because we could have different sides. We always start in our ones place. So now I'm out of room. I'm going to add 48 over here on the side because I'm out of space. 48 plus 48. Okay, I put my box because I might need to regroup. And I use my dots on my dot math. Remember on 8, I give my 8 ears and give it air in his jaws, and I count 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 6 here, I regroup in the tens place at the top, and I put dots on my numbers, or I use my hundreds chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, my total, I have 96, so I'm going to justify. So I can also do multiplication to justify this answer. You want me to go ahead and do that? I'm out of room. Erase that and do it. Ms. Lewis,
Miss Lewis, what's our time?
what's my time?
We have 3 minutes, 20 seconds remaining.
Okay, I can do it really small. So to justify, so I need to write the formula also. 24 times the number of sides. I have my numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 sides. Okay, so now I know that I'm going to separate this into place value. 20 and 4, and put 4 here, and plug this in as 20 and 4. Check that off. I've used that. Put 4 here. Now I know I bring 20 and 4 down into the tens place. And I bring the 4 over to the ones place. You want to use your multiplication chart to do the multiplication factor 4 times 4. You're going to look at that and count to 16, to the 4 square, what will give you 16. You know, we ignore the 0, and we just look at 4 times 2, which is 8. We bring the 0 over. Now we will add 80 plus 16. What gives you 96? Do I have 96 here? Do I have 96 here? I'm going to circle. I will write my answer statement with centimeters, because that's my unit I'm using. And that's it.
Ms. Cole, 1 minute remaining.
All right, that was it. That's it. We can give her some. Thank you, Ms.
Superb.
All right. We know it's not easy to model, you know, and I didn't give a choice in the matter. So I appreciate you. So Ms. Wheaton, we want to do the same practices that our upgrade for our script. We do that with the modeling. Ms. Wheat, you can kick us off. Ms. Cole, you're not going to give feedback on your own. You can maybe reflect, but we're going to skip you, Ms. Lewis, and then me. So Ms. Wheaton, give her 2 praises and an upgrade. Same for Ms. Lewis. And remember, ground your upgrades in our gap, in our no-show chart. Okay? Remember, purpose, not purpose over personal.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
my 2 praises would be with the justifying the answer. So although they added it, still for them to go back and multiply. So they also know how to multiply it as well. So that's one of my praises. My other praises was writing out all of the formulas. And then an upgrade, I would say, is as far as with the units, speaking about the units while we're annotating, so they know that while you're annotating.
Okay, Ms. Wheaton, I like that. That's a good upgrade. Ms. Lewis.
Ms. Cole, grounded in the attributes, still the punching, stamping, our attributes of a square, indicating that it is a square, and that we also going to be going over perimeter, indicating to the kiddos what perimeter is. So definitely grounding in the gap, punching the attributes. The second praise will be the grouping of your add-ins. So grouping your 24 plus your 24, your other 24 plus 24, 48 and 48, and creating your running total. My upgrade, Ms. Cole, would definitely be, I would piggyback on what Ms. Wheaton said about our units. So definitely making sure that you ground in for each of the sides. It is 24 centimeters plus 24 centimeters plus 24 centimeters plus 24 centimeters, ensuring that the units is attached to our numbers.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Lewis. And final again, Ms. Cole, thank you so much for modeling. My praises, I took notes. Definitely evidence of C-Plan do reflect. You know, we have embedded our problem-solving protocol with that. And you've been holding pretty true to that with their journals. So evidence of that. Also, and I took notes. I would say I want to praise you on having the dot math, but this is also my upgrade. So, you know, you shared out before when we talked about regrouping is a thing because we have to add and subtract even with like our 3-5-8, our multi-step. That dot math is not needed for everyone. That's like a scaffolding piece. So I don't want us to create more gaps when we're already addressing the reteach. So maybe when you're modeling, because they should be doing what you're doing, I'm getting an idea that you want everybody to do dot math. Well, we think about our time and fidelity to our schedule. Everybody doesn't need the dot math piece. So I don't think through how you can still model and just lead with, hey guys, you all know who needs the dot math. If you need dot math, add it. And then again, I y'all know I really want to hear step 1, step 2. Also, when y'all are doing, when you did that square, we might need to go back to the no-show chart, annotating, because we're talking about the attributes. Like, I want us to kind of live and talk through attributes. Like, we sped kind of through that, but that's what needs to be punched. So if it's annotating the square, labeling the square out to the side, 4 sides. Like, what do we know about a square? So adding that in with the annotations. And then I really believe that we will have a solid reteach. Okay, so Miss Cole, go ahead and clear your, okay, I can clear it. Okay, so wait, stop. I have to stop the annotations. Give me 1 second. Miss Cole, can you stop the annotations? Because I don't want to accidentally stop the.
So it's been cleared on the screen. What
It's
we're
cleared. I closed
Yeah,
it.
it's clear from my end as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, y'all. So now that we've had our model, let's go ahead and do our follow-up. Okay. So here is your reteach question. So just to kind of go back through, you're going to model number 14, the last 2 minutes. Number 14, once you model that, you will give them this question Ms. Lewis has prepped for us. This is the question that they'll do on their own, okay? Now, before we go, Ms. Wheaton, I just want you to re-share what the gap is, what you're reteaching, and I want you to give me a time to observe your reteach on tomorrow. You know you're going to do your reteach during that do now portion. It's the first 10 minutes of class. So tell me what the gap is and when can I come in to observe? Ms. Wheaton, I know you saying good stuff, but you on mute.
Okay, the gap would be identifying the attributes of a square, also understanding what the perimeter formula is, as well as in understanding what units are as well. Let me think. Oh, and also labeling, making sure that they label and making sure that they understand, you know, that I have a square. My square has 4 equal sides. So I need to label all my sides, side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. And then I see that I'm given a side. So now I need to go and number that side on all of my sides.
Okay. Perfect. You going into your replicable steps. So you ready. What time do you come on? Go ahead and go back on mute because I'm echoing.
You can come in the morning at, I would say about 8:15, between 8:20.
Okay. I will send calendar invite. And this will be on tomorrow, which is April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ms. Cole. Come off of mute.
For me, you can come at, since you're gonna be here from 8:15 to 8:30, For my first class, you can come at 8:45. For the second class at 12:30.
Which is your preferred?
12:30.
Okay. 12:30.
Yes, a 12:30 class.
All right. So, Miss Lewis, if you could go ahead and send out those calendar invites, include me, yourself, and the teacher, and then in the notes, just add the gap.
Alrighty.
What do you guys need from us? It is 11:30.
Are y'all
Go ahead, Miss Cole.
You want to email them to us and we can load them into our class kicking?
So Ms. Cole and Ms. Wheaton, I know this would be your first, but I will already have the same questions prep on 2 separate decks. So you will have the question that you will model from. That is the question that they experience on the assessment itself with the heart. That will be your teacher model. And then the one that they will do independently is the one that's on here as well. So the entire reteach should not last more than 10 minutes. I will have those 2 separate decks prepped and sent to you in an email. That way you can load it up to your preferred platform. When you do receive my email, the email invite from Ms. Richards and myself, please accept it with the specific time that we will definitely view your reteach.
And Miss Cole will come in, and then Miss Wheaton will just join on your Zoom link. All right. So thank you guys so much. Before we leave, wonderful job. I just want to reiterate our gap. So again, what you all are going to reteach and what you're punching is going to be the attributes of your polygon, specifically a square, and then your procedural. Make sure that they're annotating the sides all the way around, because that's going to solidify that it's a square. All of my sides are the same. All right. Thank you guys. It's 11:32. Coach shouldn't be too mad at me because we are right on time. So Miss Wheaton, his kids, he has your few face to face, and Miss Cole, your class is in the gym as well. All right. Thank you, Miss Lewis. Thank you.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Richards, we'll text you when we're ready to give feedback.
All righty. Thank you.